Hi, everyone, and welcome to the last day of Remote Career Success Week. I'm Lauren. You might know me from all of the other talks from arc.dev, a platform that helps you jump to remote work easier by simplifying your job search. And we connect software developers everywhere with great remote opportunities. And I'm very excited to be here today with Nadia Udalova. She is the head of product design at Moonpig UK, and she recently transitioned from a similar role at GitLab. So give us a warm welcome to Nadia that we can't hear virtually, but I'll give my round of applause. So as you know from our other talks, if you've attended, we are starting things off as if we're in a real job interview, since you're all practicing for job interviews. So let's start this off with that terrifying, but should be simple question of, can you tell me about yourself?
Oh, my favorite one. First of all, just wanted to say quickly hi to the audience. I'm super excited for being here and having this opportunity to share my some of my tips and maybe success stories. Hopefully this will be helpful to everyone. So back to your question, Lauren. Hi, I'm Nadia. I am a design leader, UX strategist, and what I call myself a design community evangelist. I'm helping organizations to achieve their business goals and success with the help of design. In general, I have about 11 years in digital design, 11 years of experience. And I would say my main areas of interest or passion are problem solving, user research, and scaling of the design teams. Throughout my career, I was part of such organizations like Hewlett Packard, CBA Labs, GitLab, and right now, of course, Moonpig, that I'm very excited about. Apart from that, I'm super passionate about supporting UX communities. Maybe we've met with some of you on that field previously. That would be very exciting if I would see some familiar names in the chat later. Those UX communities is my kind of like platform for meeting people and helping people to get together, both locally in the Netherlands where I'm located and also internationally. That was a bit longer than 30 seconds, I think, but
it was still fabulous. Thank you. So let's start off by talking a little bit about how you decided to pursue a career in product design, as well as how did you end up working remotely for the first time?
Interesting question, probably a bit of a long one. To not make the story really, really long, I would say I gradually progressed towards the product design. Looking back 11 years, I started as a sort of a project developer, kind of like a really lightweight type of a developer, playing with the HTML at that time and CSS3. So HTML5 was not even existing. Learned code fully by myself, just wanted really to get into the IT, by the example of my older sister, by the way. And throughout the career, I was going more and more closer to some creative digital work, more visual in the beginning, but later studying user experience and product design and user research and design thinking methodologies, and later the strategy and the management part of that. So kind of like slow, kind of like a gradual progression from like lightweight development to the product design and later management. And talking about the remote career, it actually found me by surprise. I never was really willing to jump into working remote because I'm kind of collaborative and willing to be around the people, as you may judge by the amount of speaking I do. And actually it's an interesting fact that I had 3 times experience in my life of the remote work. First in Hewlett Packard, when I was a part of the separated teams, kind of like over the countries. So we didn't really have a big office in the country where I was working from. So I was at home. Then GitLab, obviously, an amazing experience, tons of good learnings and tips on the remote work, because you've had 2 speakers from the GitLab, so you know that it's the biggest remote organization today. And these days in Moonpig, of course, due to the COVID-19, the situation that caught all of us these days. So I cannot say that I was really searching for that, but it kind of found me, and it taught me some good things. It taught me some self-discipline and work-life balance, I think.
Yeah. So do you think, like, coming from one of the biggest, most well-known organizations, remote organizations in the world, do you think when you got to Moonpig, you were like surprised by the way they did things differently? I mean, you come from a place where you've been trained to do, like, from the thought leaders of the remote space to somewhere where they weren't as used to it. Was that, how was that for you?
This is a question that I actually get a lot. People ask me. So definitely, I would say that GitLab is really organized in the way they do things remotely. I mean, they've built their whole organization that way. And in general, when you join a new organization, things are different. And often thing that we're immediately trying to do as a new joiners is like compare to your previous work and try to kind of like copy what you had previously. With experience, I try to avoid that and like hold myself from that, because usually it's not a very good thing. Like, you have to onboard, you have to learn the new culture, because in every place there are great things to learn. But yeah, I would say definitely the experience working with a full remote organization built that way definitely helped me going forward. And the experience of full remote onboarding that I had with Moonpig for the third time in my life wasn't scary at all anymore. It's something that I feel like I'm really used to. I know which parts of the onboarding you have to work on more. For example, like being really proactive, reaching out to people. So I really have this in my mind already and in my memory, and I know which areas to attack with a little bit more enthusiasm when you are onboarding to full remote. So it was useful, and definitely some good things maybe to pass on to my new team at Moonpig at some point as well.
Yeah, it sounds like you're very lucky to have all of this knowledge from working at GitLab, so that when you were hired at a company in 2020, whether or not it was supposed to be a remote company, you were ready for that remote hiring process and onboarding process. So I remember you telling me earlier that at Moonpig, they weren't remote before, but now you're all discussing what people would like to do and what your ideal kind of half remote, half work from home space would be like. What I know you, what did you told me, I think you'd like one day in the office and the rest remote, or how does your team view this, and what do you see it becoming in the future?
Yeah, so as you said, I think my personal ideal world would be where we would be able to meet some colleagues at the office at least like for 1-2 days in a week, to do those brainstorming, to get the energy from each other, to exchange ideas. Obviously, right now, Netherlands is under the full lockdown. So we have not only offices closed, even cafes, like everything is closed. Yeah. We cannot even get coffee and sit at the place to enjoy that. Moonpig is fully closed, the office. People are adapting to the full remote work and trying to still not lose the connection with each other. And I have to say that for a company that had to switch quickly to the full remote work, I think Moonpig did a great job, because I think they adapted fast. They changed the interviewing process as well to that. We are working on changing the onboarding process, and there was a lot of attention put towards the team communication and all of these things that you really miss when you're going full remote. I think they're doing a great job.
Yeah, it sounds like there are also people who actually really like working from home, and I think going into the future, it may actually force employers to allow more flexibility than they ever even wanted to, because they'll realize that that's what people want. And I know a lot of people who are at this event, maybe their first remote experience was a little crazy this year, but you realize there's some really great things about it. So I think a lot of people are finding that, and employers will have to adapt as well.
Yeah, throughout my career, I think I've met different types of people, like the ones who are really liking to work from home, would never ever switch to anything else. Some people like saying, hey, I just want my office back and that's it. But I think the biggest amount of people are still in the middle, that kind of like this healthy balance of the both. And I actually really hope that's our future, where we are going after this crazy 2020. I hope we will be able to find this a little bit more balanced state in the middle.
Yeah, it'll be really interesting to see how many of these big companies decide, like which road they decide to take and how in the middle or remote or not they end up being. So speaking of your current job, can you tell us a little bit more about the application process and how you found the job, how you ended up to where you are now?
Yeah, it's interesting. My current job found me. It all started this year. I'm saying already last. I'm so ready to be over with 2020.
Right.
It's all started in the summer, and of course I was still part of GitLab, and an amazing company where I had a lot of fun and a lot of learnings. And in the beginning, when Moonpig approached me, I was like kind of like, not that excited, kind of like really flat about that. But the more I talked to the people, the more I became excited. The culture is really amazing. The people are fun, and seems like really, to me, seemed like a hardworking company, and like work hard, like have fun, kind of like that type of organization. So the process was, of course, I think a bit longer than what we would have usually at the normal allocation, like in the office. This was the process that Moonpig already adjusted towards the remote way of interviewing. So I had to go through quite a number of sessions of interviews, because obviously you need to meet, all of those people with whom you're going to be working directly. So in my case, that was a first call with a recruiter, then the hiring manager, then my peer, another head of design we have at Moonpig, then heads of product and engineering, so basically the counterparts, and then my team directly. The team that I would be working with and that I would be managing. So all of those, I think, that resulted in maybe 6-7 sessions. And out of those 6-7 sessions, I had 2 kind of like workshops, tasks, interviews. So one was, and this all I'm talking, it's a level, it's quite a senior level, it's a head of product design. So for a bit of a lower role in the ladder, there would be less amount of sessions, of course. And those workshops that I've been going through was first to go through kind of like a product related task. It was something kind of like, I was given like a spoken challenge during a call, and I should have walked people through the process, how I would solve it. And the second workshop was a workshop that I had to prepare, because obviously my role, it requires a lot of workshop facilitation. So it was needed for the team and for the company to see those skills as well, which I actually found quite fun, because it was a great way to get onboarded to the culture of the team, and get really good understanding of where I'm involving myself as well into. So I found that really interesting. So in general, the process was quite very fun and definitely quite challenging. But it showed like the level of the work that I would be doing directly. So it was really informational, I would say. And yeah, as I said, I think when interviewing remotely, it's kind of like natural that the process is a bit longer, because meeting like 15 people in one call, it's not that sufficient. So you need kind of like meet one by one. And then the company also needs to make a valid assessment of your character and of your skills. So quite some hours needs to be spent there.
Yeah, lots of time on Zoom. Yeah. So do you remember any interview questions they asked you in particular, and like how you answered them? Or on the other side of things, like if you have interviewed people maybe when you were working at GitLab, what kind of questions would you ask?
I don't think it's a bit hard to remember the interview questions. I definitely and obviously you speak to the different level of people, like you speak to the designers, to product, to the engineering. And I think the questions are generally separated into the 2 types of questions. One is to investigate about your like character, your like maybe even emotional state. And second, it's really to assess your skills. So if the first part is maybe general with people, the skill assessment is really depending on who you're talking to. Like an engineering manager can be asking you totally different questions from like the head of product or from a product designer, for example. If speaking about some of my favorite questions during the interview, I would say there would be the kind of like the behavioral type of questions. I'm not sure if our participants heard of the STAR methodology. Maybe some of my GitLab ex-GitLab colleagues already talked about that. This is something where that I learned actually there. It's kind of like STAR is an abbreviation for situation, task, action, and the result. So what it actually comes to, you're asking a candidate about a situation that happened with him or with her in the past, and that he or she describes it to you, his actions or her actions, her tasks and the results of this situation. And why is this important method is because it's a great way to assess how the person will behave in the future based on his and her previous experience or actions. So usually I would ask something like, can you tell me a situation when you had a conflict with your colleague, and how did you resolve that? Or can you tell me about a time when you had to push back on a stakeholder, and what actions did you take? So something like that. And actually from there you start to deep dive into questions like why and what goal did you achieve, or like how did you measure the outcome, or walk me through the process or through the steps that you have taken. So, like you're going into the details, and it lets you really analyze how the person behaves in certain situations. So I think those are my favorite questions in the interviews. Yeah. And I will add just a little bit if talking about the designer's job, it's of course like a showcasing part, either discussing the portfolio or every designer that I'm hiring, I'm trying to put through the like some kind of a workshop situation, exactly what Moonpig did to me, to see the thinking on the go. I'm not a big fan of like giving an assignment of a homework, like, hey, this is your task, come back within 4 days. I like to call people in the office, or I do a remote workshop where they can show their way of thinking, their design process as we go. So kind of like on the fly. Now it's a bit challenging, and I know people usually don't feel that comfortable as they would be feeling in a normal life. We also take that into account, but this is an interesting way to assess people's skill.
Yeah, I think everything you said about the interview questions is almost the same that every single speaker has said during this event. So I think everyone in the audience, you should take note of this. Think about the projects you've done in the past and practice just explaining them in a way that shows what you've learned and what your skills are. I think that's a really important thing to know how to do instead of being caught off guard, because now you know that probably everyone's going to ask you this. So got to be ready.
For sure. And for us as a designer, sometimes we think if we will send a portfolio, this kind of like does 90% of the job. But the important thing is that you are actually also able to explain that. And like, because like usually people show the cases that they've been involved with a lot of other people, and how do we judge what part of the job you exactly have done. So when we are going through these types of questions, it's really easy to understand what was your involvement, and what results did you achieve in particular. So
that's a great point about the being able to communicate. It also shows not only what you did, but that you are a capable and communicator as well, which almost every speaker said that was the #1 soft skill for any profession working remotely is communication. So I think that's key to giving a great interview. So talking about, aside from the interview process, throughout your career, your life, what's something that unique that you did that you think helped you get to where you are right now?
You mean like general, the place of the career, you mean, or something?
Yeah, I know you've talked about your volunteer work and some things you've done on the side or within your career. Yeah, what do you think that is the thing that's made you different from other applicants when you were applying for these jobs?
Oh yeah, definitely. Well, something like talking about the volunteering work, and this is actually a topic that I really wanted to connect my today talk Two, I think that being involved in those communities that I mentioned in the beginning of the introduction into the user experience, product design communities, it gave me a big advantage of seeing a lot of organizations from the inside, because for example, I'll give you an example of what does it mean to be a participator of a community on my experience. Like from 2015 to 2019, I was I was leading an organizing group of one of the communities here in the Netherlands. So every month we would be organizing an event on a certain topic around user experience or product design every month at every different organization office. So that gave me a possibility to be exposed to a lot of different organizations here in Amsterdam. And of course, it's a tech hub. It's quite a lot of different companies, starting from, booking.com to IGN to a lot of others. So we visited a lot of offices with those. I've seen a lot of managers and leads of the teams. I've been speaking to a lot of designers, and we've been exchanging information about how is your team being arranged? What rituals do you have? How do you do this? How do you do that? And it gave me actually a lot of understanding. I would want to work for this company, or I definitely would not want to be a part of that company. So it gave me an understanding of a good and a bad. And it also exposed me to a lot of different people, and it helped me to broaden my network so much in those few years. And also just get connected to other passionate people like in the field like myself, so we could do like cool stuff together. We did really great events like workshops, little conferences, small meetups. It was a lot of great things. I've met a couple of really popular speakers in our field, and also got the possibility to learn from that. So I think that kind of like gave me a strong push, confidence boost in the first place, and then strong push to be exposed to the wide community out there. And I think without that experience, I would be afraid of public speaking. I would be afraid of making new connections. I would definitely not be at that level of a confidence where I am today. So for everyone who is out there who is trying to get confidence or get additional knowledge, or just widen your network in whatever domain you are there, I really advise you the power of the communities. Of course, with the COVID is a bit harder to do, but also still online is very great public out there. Just put yourself out there, start with attending events, and maybe at some day you want to support a community with organization. It's a really great way to like get yourself out there.
That's a great point. I think there's so many online communities now, even with the current situation, there are ways to connect with people remotely. And actually that brings me to another question I have for you about your network. So what role do you think, you've explained a little bit about what the role that your network has played in your own personal and career development. So how do you approach making new connections remotely, though? It sounds a little intimidating to a lot of people, I think. Like, for example, we have our networking feature here. You have like 5-minute video calls with strangers. How do you actually make a genuine connection, a lasting connection remotely?
Yeah, this is a great point. And this is probably like a bit of a harder nut to crack comparing to like a normal face-to-face communication. How I approach this, what I've noticed that remote events nowadays, they have a little smaller audience. So it actually kind of like helps you to talk face-to-face to people. I know that a lot of us are feeling intimidated about joining this networking part. It's like just being the first person to join who needs to speak up or find a topic. It's always a little bit scary. But I think just putting yourself out there, and those people who you're speaking with, I always make sure that I take the LinkedIn contact or an email. Sometimes we just say, hey, is everyone on the call? Okay, if we exchange the emails with each other, and then the person who who organized the call shares the emails between the audience, or adding each other on LinkedIn, and actually making an effort to ask the first question, like, hey, do you want to jump on the call and discuss with me that topic that we started discussing during the event, or hey, I have this specific question that you seem to have a bit of experience about because you talked about that. Yeah, so kind of like picking those people that you are really interested yourself in keeping connection with, because in a remote way, you obviously don't want to spend your time on somebody you don't care about, and then just trying to stick to that. I've also, within the remote type of working and communication, it's a great time to maybe find a mentor for yourself in one of these events. Just focus on talking to one person who is maybe similar to your experience or a bit higher, who you can keep in touch with, schedule like monthly calls or something to talk, to exchange experiences, because everyone feels like lack of connection with others right now, I think. So people, I think, are a bit more open to chat with each other online. Yeah,
that's a great point. I think people might be cooped up and want more social time, and they're all online all the time. So even if you're not located in the same place as your ideal mentor, you can always reach out and give it a go. Might get lucky this year. So what would you say, like, for example, if I see someone on LinkedIn that is just clearly like my definition of success in my career, and I really want to get to know them and reach out to them, but I've never met them before, what do you say? Like, what would you do? Like, how would you approach that?
Yeah, it's a good one. Usually those people are, I can understand, quite busy, and probably they have quite a lot of people reaching out to them on LinkedIn. So I would definitely try to find a nice way that would catch their attention. That's ideal if you would have a possibility to cross on one of the events. Again, just to have the possibility of a face contact, because, well, yeah, usually I have like a lot of messages in my LinkedIn, and of course you cannot read all of them, and you cannot respond to all of them. But if you are having an attachment to one of the names, if you have seen it, yeah, there is a bigger chance that you will reply. And also probably just avoid asking like, hey, can you review my portfolio and give me advice? Like, avoid asking those big things directly when you didn't even have the set up the connection with that person who you really want to reach out. Maybe share a little some of your personal story and explain why you're so interested to talk to them. Like, try to find the personal connection first before asking anything huge, like from a stranger. You know, like if somebody suddenly like sends you, hey, can you help me reviewing my portfolio, and like spend 60 minutes in one of your weekdays, it's a very small chance that you're gonna reply. But if you share, like, for example, like, hey, I've read your story and it seems like you have gone through a similar experiences that I'm going through. Would you have like 5 minutes to, I don't know, to reply to my question or something like that? Ask for something really tiny and really personal, probably to make sure that you have the attention of the person. That's how I would approach that.
Yeah, I think just being human too from the start, not just approaching someone as a face behind a screen they don't know. Just introduce yourself and be normal before you start asking for huge favors. I think that's great advice. So it's back to your communities. I'd love to hear more about how you actually started a new community. You started, I think it was the largest UX community in the Netherlands, was it? So I'd love to hear about how you kicked that off and how you got it going.
Yeah, it was quite a few years back. It was just at the time when I moved, like, so for the audiences who do not know, you may be hearing my strange accent. So I'm originally from Eastern Europe, from Ukraine, and I have moved to the Netherlands at the age of 21. And of course, like, I was searching for my career path here, and I actually was really keen to join a local office with the local professionals and learn all around like the culture here, how the business is being done, what does UX mean here, how is it different from what I've learned in Ukraine. And the best way I could figure out at that time is just to go and search for people like myself. And at one of the days, I got approached on LinkedIn by a colleague of mine. After that, she was looking for like-minded people, so ladies in the UX, like girls in the UX, and she was asking if I would be interested, like, to join her in the like experience of growing a community. And of course, I was super excited about that because it will give me that possibility to meet more people like myself. And we met with her and we started building the plans about how we're gonna start, what kind of events we're gonna make, what kind of people we're gonna invite, because we had this big plan of finding more girls like ourselves that are in tech and who are searching for like-minded people. Because when we would be joining events, tech events, we would be seeing a lot of course, like guys like in the crowd, and usually like ladies would be standing somewhere like aside the wall and not really talking or so. At least in the Netherlands, it was that case. So we wanted to really create that welcoming community. So we started bits by bits, we started organizing first event. I remember I was the speaker even there. It was a silly topic. I don't even remember what it was about. It was so long time ago, but we had like 10 people. The next month we had like 20 people, and it started growing. And we started actually bravely reaching out to big companies to host our events. And later, after a year or two, the big companies started reaching out to us. Hey, do you want to come and bring your audience to our office? Obviously, for them, it was like hiring opportunities and the opportunity to like brand themselves. So after 3.5 years, it's just kind of like we looked back and we had 3,500 people in the community. And at that time, it was the biggest, female focused UX community. And we've been super proud of the work we've done. We met so many like-minded people. We found the contacts ourselves for our purposes, but also we helped connecting so many people, and that was super pleasing feeling.
So are you still involved with this community now?
No, I'm not. I kind of like after 3.5 years, I thought that I've done there everything that I could. And I really was happy to give it over to the other girls. We have hired a team of 9 organizers at that time. So I was feeling perfectly safe that, the girls who have joined us would be moving on with that community with us, without us perfectly. And actually the community is still growing, still existing, still doing events, even remotely, and doing a great job. And I'm talking about Ladies at UX Amsterdam. Actually, Ladies at UX is a very popular community around the world. I think they're existing everywhere in America, Europe, Asia. So for those who are interested, do check it out. It's an amazing place for learning.
Awesome. It sounds like a great thing that you've done. Also, you gave it a life of its own, so you can move forward and still see it growing as you go along.
Yeah.
Let's jump over to optimizing our online presence for the remote job search, because I know that I've seen your personal website, and I love it. I think it's one of the most wonderful looking websites I've seen throughout looking at all of these different online portfolios, and it highlights you really well. So I would love to hear more about how you created it, and even just from the very start, like what website did you start with? How did you build this? And tell the audience a little bit about how they can do the same, because it looks great.
Thank you. I think I can do a much better job there still, but thanks. This is really nice to hear. So why actually, where does the thought came from to kind of like organize my online presence a bit better? Because for those UXers out there, for those product designers out there, hey, we are in super competitive domain. There is so many great designers. There are so many professionals out there. And I thought, hey, if I ever would need to find a job, or if I want to like just differentiate myself, I need to stand out. And I was always thinking about I was thinking that I need to treat myself as a brand, as a product of like my own, right? Because if I want to make sure that I have a face, like I'm a professional and not necessarily, for example, connected to any company, because who knows what's going to happen. I thought that I need to build that like online presence for myself as a product out there. So I started with just launching a Medium blog. I think a lot of people in our audience today have that as well. I think it's a great way to just like publish some of your thoughts. For those who are a bit more senior in the design ladder, I think maybe you're not working on that much user interface work anymore. So kind of like talking about your project via Medium articles is a really great way to build your portfolio, not visual, but like portfolio of your like other type of work. So I started from there. I placed myself at like a goal, a personal goal of publishing few articles every year. And after that, I understood that I need to give it a bit more face. And I thought that I need to build a website because I've seen so many great websites of other product designers. And I did a little bit of a research as any product designer. I was thinking, hey, which parts do I like from a hiring perspective as a hiring manager, like which parts from the portfolios of the other product designers I like. And I kind of like combined a little wireframe for myself. And from that, I used the site builder, just like actually customized it quite a bit and try to add a lot about my personality as well, because again, it's your brand. You have to add character to that and also like drop quite a lot of skills information in there. So it's a little bit of a mix of your personality plus your skills. And trying to keep it up to date, of course, because again, we all grow. Hopefully, we all proceed through, through the career. So it's nice to keep it up to date. I have to do a better job there because I haven't looked at this for like a few months for sure. So yeah, especially after this nice advertising, I'll have to go back and check it out.
And I hope you don't hate if you're posting it in the chat now so everyone can see it before you've updated it, but it already looks amazing. I think it's a great example for everyone in the audience who's trying to figure out what to put on your own website. This is a fantastic example. So what about your other areas of your online presence, like your LinkedIn profile or maybe a CV that you would send over? What else do you think that people can do to optimize these things for their remote job search?
Yeah, I think personally for myself, maybe some people will disagree here, but I find LinkedIn a really useful tool in that professional networking and communication. I keep it by itself. I'm very excited about keeping that part, like that website, the LinkedIn page, really up to date. So one of my tips is just to be really active there. Like if you are connected to me, you would see a few posts every month from me. Would it be about searching a speaker for one of my events? Would it be about like searching a designer? Would it be about sharing some nice information, some useful articles or something like that? Just trying to be active there and because LinkedIn keeps your activity feed. It's a great visualization of your personal interests. It's a great visualization of your mentoring skills to other. What information do you share? What information do you read yourself? And also I'm following every now and then like a new course online, and all of those courses today, you can connect those certificates to your LinkedIn profile. But although they don't really have that big of a value, but for me, for example, as a hiring manager, it would be interesting to see what interests, what skills are you learning, and what types of courses have you completed, because this means that you have gotten additional knowledge. So all of those, keep your LinkedIn page up to date. Make sure that you have a nice description of every role that you have there. Don't put just your title. Put a little bit of a description of what have your main responsibilities been. Because as a hiring manager, again, that's one of the first places that I always look at. I would go and sneak, hey, what was that person doing? What is exactly part of that role? And talking about some of the other social media presence. Where else did you ask me? Actually, one was LinkedIn. Another one, you also mentioned something that gave me a good idea to talk about.
The CV that you send to remote.
Right. Wanted to give a bit of tips there. I actually tend to keep my CV really minimalistic, and maybe, again, some of you can disagree with me, but I like it to be fitting on one paper, and maybe adding a little link for an extended version online if you caught an attention of the hiring manager. Because remember, we as a hiring manager, we get so much CVs, and if yours has 3 pages long, it's a natural reaction to get even tired from just looking at it, and typically it's this person is not really concise, I would say, but not everyone is the same, of course. I keep mine really compact, and trying to put the most important information adapted for the role that you are applying for. Again, remember, you may have different experiences. You may have past 100 courses online, but instead of making your CV 5 pages long, just adjust it to the role that you are applying for and put the courses that would catch attention of the hiring manager, that would really fit the domain. And put some of the public speaking opportunities that you've done, or some of the community, like volunteering work that you've done. This is all talks about your interest, about your level of activity. It's always useful. Yeah. And put something personal there, like a picture, or like some, like, I don't know, a little description sentence of yourself. So for me, it's always nice to know like who I'm looking at before I go to the skills section. So those are quite some tips. I can drop my CV actually in the folder as well, Lauren, later after the call.
Yeah, we'll share lots of helpful resources for everyone in the audience after the event. We're collecting some from our speakers, so Nadia will give me that. And for now, you can check out her website. I think that's a really important tip about keeping things on one page, because chances are when people are looking through a ton of CVs, they'll only actually look at your first page anyways. So you want to have the good stuff right at the front.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And adding a human aspect too, I think that's a great tip. Even I know in some places you're not really, I think in the US, we're not really supposed to put a photo on the CV, even though it's common practice in a lot of other places. But even then, just like maybe like a one-line little tagline to express who you are and what you care about, or a little video or something. Yeah.
Actually, I can give out. Oh God, I'm gonna sell my biggest tip right now for the interviews. And actually, this is something that I've done for Moonpig. Maybe some of you have been already exposed to those, like how do you say, these letters, cover letters, right? There is always comes like a pair, CV and a cover letter, and the cover letter is usually like just a Word document with a lot of like boring text, dear madam or dear sir, etc. Those are not very fun to read through from my perspective. So what I've done instead, maybe some of you have seen this trick already somewhere online. I've recorded a little video instead of that. So kind of like, instead of writing the boring paragraph, why are you so excited about the job and who you are, I recorded a 3-minute introduction video about myself, talking about myself as a personality, my strong sides, and what can I add to the company, something like that, just like showcase your character. It's a really nice personal way to get in touch with the hiring manager directly. And I think this works quite well. I mean, it tells directly a lot to the company, to the people who are looking at this, because it's a little like a cloak, getting to know each other, I would say, directly. So I think it worked for me. I just practiced it once for now, and it landed me a job. So maybe it will help some of you as well to try that out. And let me know, actually, if somebody of you will have success with that, do reach out to me on LinkedIn. I will be happy.
I love that idea. I think that's really like a great way to stand out too, because people, especially, I know your experience, super boring, looking at all these letters, all these CVs, and then suddenly you get a video, and even just for them to be remembered, because you might not remember anything from the 100 CVs you saw, except there's that one video that really makes them stand out. So I think that's a really fun idea. I love that. I think everyone should try that and see how it goes. Let Nadia and I know. I'm curious.
For sure.
So let's talk about some of the key soft skills to land a remote job in your profession. What do you think are the top 3 most important skills?
For landing like a product design job, you mean?
Yes.
Soft skills, you said.
Yes.
Interesting one. I would say that the product designer skill set, let's put it this way, is changing so much right now. I think like previously we've been called like UX, UI designers, or a web designer even earlier, right? Right now, more mature organizations, I think, are more tending to call it like a product designer. That actually means that a person that they're looking for needs to be kind of more all-rounded professional. So which means that you have to have an understanding and a base in quite a lot of things like user research, design thinking, prototyping, user interface design, usability testing, etc., etc. And about the soft skills, I think for the product designer, it's very important to be able. Let's start from a bit of a standard, but maybe not that much. Like, I have a good a way of stakeholder management. Let's put it this way. Like, maybe because I believe that it's a really strong skill for a product designer to be a nice counterpart to your product manager. And when you are able to have a kind of like the same level conversation with them, when you are able to push some ideas of their further or to challenge them, it really shows you, it really like makes you a good team, and it really contributes to a good outcome. So like kind of like being able to really understand their needs, deep dive not only from the product design side, but also trying to understand those business metrics, kind of like this empathy for the product manager or stakeholder that you're working with, and being able to collaborate with him on the peer level. Sorry, I think that's one. I think also being really proactive, because I think product designers are often kind of like a facilitators of the process. I find my designers on my team or myself sometimes, we're like being a little icebreaker ship that's like breaks the ice for the whole team. Like we are going out there and like figuring out things with user research, and with talking to customers, again managing stakeholders from different levels. So you need to be kind of proactive, and be self-confident, and not being afraid to talk to others, and put yourself out there, and later take your team with you to show that it's a safe place to go. I would say those are maybe two, like not counting the standards, those soft skills. I think those would be the two important ones for me searching for a product designer joining my team.
Great. How do you think people can show these to you throughout the interview process, or in their cover letter, in their video cover letter, or whatever they do?
I think by telling stories. Again, we are coming back to that point where I talked about that STAR methodology of asking questions during the interview. So have a nice one or two stories to tell, and it's great if they connect it to one of the projects that you've put on your portfolio. Make sure that you can nicely talk about the problem that you've been trying to solve, and how you manage the stakeholders, how you have collected the team and put them through the process, how you maybe learn them a new design thinking methodology by walking them through a workshop. It's nice if you would have some pictures in your portfolio just to show that whiteboard with the stickies or something like that to connect your story to. So those storytelling is really powerful tool in any part of the interview, I think, when you're able to say where you started from. So the problem, what role did you take, and what was the outcome? Again, coming back to that STAR behavioral questions that I discussed in the beginning.
Yeah, it's a very common theme, I think, throughout this entire event. Just the word storytelling has come up in almost every single interview we've had. It sounds like that is a really important thing, to learn how to tell your own story of how you've done things in the past in a way that shows what you're capable of. So if you had to, now that we're somewhat nearing the end of our interview, if you wanted the audience to take away your number one tip for finding a remote product design job, what would that number one tip be?
One, it would be hard. There are quite few. One, maybe this was already before. Also, spoken by one of the speakers. But I would say if you're searching, it's actually just for any tip. Like, make sure that you do the research on the company and research on the people that are interviewing you, because actually, I'm selling so many tips. But another thing that I think really helped me to go quite a few times through a successful interview is really doing the background research on the interviewer of mine during the interview. And for example, looking the public speaking that they've done, and learning about their personal interest. And then when you have that information in the background, when you go to the actual interview, you can have a conversation with your interviewer about that. And when he asks you, do you have any questions at the end of the interview, it's not like you're silently, no, we discussed everything. As a hiring manager, I hate that. That means that you are not interested, and I don't know. And instead, you can say, you know what, I watched that public speaking that you've done on that and that event, and you mentioned this. Could you tell me a little bit, like, or connect that somehow? It will show that you're doing your research properly, that you have an interest in the person who is interviewing you, and yeah, that you are just like curious, and that you are doing your homework, that you're preparing upfront. I think as a hiring manager, I would appreciate it a lot. And I think this is something that would definitely will highlight you out of the other interviewers or other candidates, that are going through the same job application.
I think that's really important tip. I know a lot of people may be feeling desperate to get that job, and they're just mass sending resumes and everything. But I think doing that research can really improve your chances of getting a job too. I think. So what do you think if everyone in our audience here wants to sit down right now and write a checklist before applying to any company, what they should do, what kind of research they should do, what questions they can prepare for the interviewer? Like, what would be on that checklist?
Yeah, I would definitely say get to know the product, get to know the business. Again, spend research. And I think I've heard it from some of the previous speakers on this event. But yeah, I definitely would not suggest to reach out to 100 different jobs. Just pick the ones that you're really interested and spend your time on that. So do the business research, do try the product. If they have a mobile app, download it, go through it, write down advantages and disadvantages. Tell about those during the interview. This will showcase, especially for us, for the product designers, this will showcase that you made a little assessment about the usability of the product, and you can already maybe give some tips, or maybe you say, hey, if I would be joining your team tomorrow, this would be the first thing that I would get onto, for example. Also, maybe digging some important milestones about the business that you are joining. Like maybe they had a huge, security leak, and you want to ask how did they overcame that challenging situation? How did they gain users' trust back? Or maybe they had a huge acquisition. How did it impact the business? Be curious about the business. So again, show your interest about that. Also, in general, I would say if that's talking specifically about the remote interview, just get your patience, I would say, because I think generally it would take a bit longer than a usual interview. Get your patience, be prepared to be very proactive, ask questions. For sure, make sure that you have a list of 10 questions to ask during your interview process. Because probably 5 of them you will get answers to during the interview, and you need to ask something at the end. As I said, the people who are not asking questions at the end, usually, it's for me, it's a little bit of an orange flag.
So be extra prepared. So just in case they answer all of them first, you have extras.
I would say so. I think those are the first things that are coming to my mind. A lot of obvious stuff, but probably other speakers have covered that already.
Great. So anything else you want to add before we jump over to the Q&A portion?
I would just want to probably say to the crowd that, hey, that's it's a tough year we are going through right now. I actually know that maybe not all of us are ready for that remote type of working. We are not probably feeling ready for the remote interviews. If that's your first one, it's probably a bit more comforting because you're taking it from home. But at the other side, it's also a bit more scary because it's a new way of going through things. So again, by being curious, by being extra prepared, I think you're just securing yourself from a failure if you really want to get the job. And if you don't want to, and if you're not sure if you really want to get the job, does it even waste worth wasting your time on that? So really think twice about that. I think that's it. Be curious, be active, and I'm sure this will bring you to a good place.
Great, thank you so much. I feel like I'm sure our audience is more prepared now for the remote job search. And I love your tip about the video cover letter. I think someday maybe I'll use that myself. So let's check out our chat here, see if we have any questions. Lots of people saying hello. Here we have, and everyone else, if you have questions, now is the time to ask them. I see we have feel like I'm missing one. Okay. So we have a question from Aaron who says, how did you send the cover letter video to the hiring manager? Did you just email the video file to them? That's a good question. So they're not like, what is this spam?
Nice question, Aaron. Really practical. I feel like, yeah, you're getting ready to get the usage of that tip. Yeah, I was in touch with a recruiting manager, with a recruiting person, and it was an email communication. So I attached my CV, and I've actually uploaded my video that I've taken. Oh, what is that? What is that tool? There is this really fancy new tool. People, drop your ideas into the chat about like really. Loom, I think Loom, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I took my video with Loom, and it was really easy way to like with your front camera of your Mac, and I saved it. I uploaded it to my personal YouTube channel, hidden it from everyone else, and sent it with the link through the recruiter. So it was very, very easy, and I've got really positive replies from that, from the team actually later, and I definitely noticed that it caught people's attention. So yeah, do use that tip.
That's great. So on Loom, it was just you talking. You weren't showing your work at the same time. It was just your face.
Yeah, I was actually traveling to Ukraine at that time. It was a horrible background. I apologized for the design choice on the background because it was really horrible. And I am applying for a head of design. I tried to make it really like casual, really positive, and like show my character as well. I think that's important. Like try to be relaxed. Like maybe I probably did like 10 videos. So don't expect that you'll get it from the first time. Never. I practice.
I think practice enough until you look natural, so it doesn't look like you're just terrified and trying really hard. Then it might be against you in that case.
Yeah.
So we have a question from Maya. As someone starting out in UX, how many case studies would you suggest I should have in my portfolio before I begin applying?
Amazing question, Maya. Yes, and especially I think it's really dependent on how much experience you have in your field. I would say it's not the quantity, it's about the quality. Like honestly, I as a hiring manager.
Frozen.
Oh, I'm here.
Oh, okay. You're back.
Back.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm on my 4G. Thanks for letting me know. Am I back right now?
Yeah, you're good. It's working surprisingly well, actually. So, yeah,
you're good. Awesome. So I was saying that Maya has a brilliant question, and I would say definitely depends on the level of your experience. I would say probably for me the minimum on like if I would have if I would see one case study, I would be like a little bit like questioned. Why is it so little? 2 as a minimum, I would say. And they should be good, like I would rather have less for sure than some kind of just like general UI design. If you're applying for the product designer position, I would rather have 2 solid use cases describing your design thinking process. Like again, what challenges you had, how did you solve them, what steps did you take, instead of just like looking at the pretty images on like Behance somewhere. So definitely put an effort. It's better I have less but more quality. For sure.
So our next question is from Brittany. How do we find the line between career personality and at-home personality on a resume? I find it hard to only be work and then have my other side left out, especially during the job hunt.
Great question again. Wow, amazing questions from crowd. Brittany, I would say it depends on the company you're applying for. This is why it's so important to make that research to understand what is their type of culture. Maybe try to adapt, again, your CV, the amount of personal information you put there to their culture. There is a lot of information on LinkedIn, but also on Google. You can find about like feedback about the company or their description, maybe their branding. It's really easy to judge like what company values. If this is like some kind of like maybe e-commerce or something personal like Moonpig, like about digital cards, it's probably more about phone culture and more personal. But if it's like business to business type of organization, maybe you want to tune it down a little bit. But also, again, do your research and do your decision based on where you're applying to.
Ronak, sorry I hope I'm pronouncing everyone's names correctly. I apologize if I don't. How long should the cover letter video be?
Great one again. Oh my God. I was really trying to not make it more, let's say, than, I think 3 minutes is the top. No, maybe it's even too much, like 90 seconds to 3 minutes, I would say, because, hey, it has to be fun. It's like watching a movie. If it's exciting, you maybe don't care if there will be 2.5 hours long, but if it's boring, it's better be finished fast. So depends on you. Make it exciting, but don't make it too long as well. Because again, remember, probably hiring manager doesn't have all the time in the universe. So I would say usually the boundary between 90 seconds and like 2 to 3 minutes would be a good one.
That's a great point. And I think people, if you need inspiration for your videos, we've asked every speaker at the beginning of our interviews to give us their little elevator pitch. So that would be a great place to find inspiration. Once we send you all the recordings, when they're ready, you can go back and watch the beginning snippet of every interview and get a sense for a good elevator pitch.
Ooh, good one.
So we have a question from Bridget. What are your favorite product design blogs or books?
Nice, self-education. So for blogs, as I mentioned, I'm using Medium quite a lot. Previously, before COVID times, I was traveling, commuting to work like 40 minutes each side on the train. That was a perfect time for me to browse through Medium, to read some case studies, articles. Usually Medium is really great in kind of like suggesting the topics of interest based on your indications there. So that's a great place. If I have a specific question that I'm interested in finding articles, I just Google, but I don't necessarily have a specific website where I'm just every day reading through. It's more maybe Medium and then Googling plus. And about the books, that's a great one. Actually, I'm only reading professional related books and nothing like no novels, nothing like that. And quite a lot of the books, for example, about the team management, the people's personalities in a working environment. For example, one of the favorite books that I've read in the last couple of months, I would say, there was a Radical Candor. I'm really bad with the people's names, so I don't remember the author, but it's an amazing, very known in our domain woman. It's about how to give people the feedback in a really candid and a candor way. So you mentor them, but you also make sure that they kind of like correct their behaviors and reflect your feedback. A lot of books just around like maybe proper time management. For example, just right now ordered this one today, Eat the Frog. It's like a bestseller, and it's about like how to be really time effective. So a lot of stuff like that. Just again, Googling for the topics like best books on time management, best books on design thinking techniques, best books on team management, and just seeing what people suggest there.
Yeah, if you have any of your specific recommendations that you have the chance to figure out what the author name or whatever later, feel free to send them to me and I can share them with our attendees in our Facebook community. So you can all check them out. I think it's time to wrap up here as we're out of time. So for now, I'd just like to say thank you everyone for joining us. And thank you so much, Nadia, for sharing all of your amazing advice and experience with us. And we're really happy to have you here.
Thank you for having me, and thanks for the great questions to the audience. It was a pleasure.